The song we're gonna start off with.
Okay, let me. I'll choose one. You can just introduce if you want, and I'll say what song it is. I just gotta choose one first. Give me one sec. Um. All right, I got a song.
You got it.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
What is it?
I'll intro. You can just we'll
All
do
right.
do the usual time. You can just say what song is it, and I'll say which one it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
let's do it.
So welcome to another edition of the Sports Pulse. I'm Ethan Winter.
I'm Brian Brennan.
And Brian, what is this week's song that we're starting off with?
We are going to be starting off this week with Southside by Common featuring Kanye West off of his album Finding Forever, circa 2007, 2008, around then. That is the song we are beginning with this week because Common is awesome. And
And I actually thought of this. Um, do you want to end off with Royal by Lord since the Royals won the World
yeah, there we
Series?
go. That's what I'm talking about. That's a good.
All right.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah, and transition into our first topic. The Kansas City Royals have been crowned the kings of the baseball world, winning the World Series in 5 games against the Mets. Second straight time that the Mets have been dispatched in 5 games in the World Series. The
Yeah.
first time, Brian, you have fond memories
Apart
of
though.
this one. The Subway Series back in 2000.
Yep, 15 years ago though, so it's kind of a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you were what, like
9, I think.
9?
I think I was, oh man, that's so long ago. Wow,
Yeah.
that's depressing.
But I just have to say this. So the Mets had a lead in every game of the World Series, and they coughed it up four
Yep.
times. And the last 2 times, I felt was just the most Mets way to lose ever. Um,
I mean, I think what was the most bizarre thing about it for me was all of the people who helped them get to the World Series. You think of Daniel Murphy, who
yeah,
hit all those home runs in the NLCS, was looking like the second
and
coming of
DS.
Babe, and NLDS. Yeah, he was hitting all postseason, and he goes out and completely dogs it. And Jeurys Familia, the Mets closer, he was pretty much unhittable in the first few rounds of the playoffs. I mean, you go back and look at some of the swings people were getting off him in the Dodgers and the Cubs series, and they weren't even close. And you in the World Series, I don't think anybody's ever blown 3 saves in one World Series.
Well, see, if you're blaming the Mets collapse
I'm not.
in the World Series on Jeurys Familia, you're
I'm not.
dumb because I don't think it's his fault. I mean,
It's not. But I'm.
in game one, he did give up
We
that
really
home
helped him out.
run in the ninth inning, so
Yeah.
that one was kind of on his fault. But the other 2 saves were not his fault,
There was
especially the last one
There was
in
definitely
which
some mismanagement on the part of Terry Collins. I
yes,
think what you were about to say.
yes, and to me, my if I was Terry Collins, I would have just gone with Matt Harvey. I wouldn't have even had any inclination of taking him out in Game 5.
Right.
But once he had already made that decision, he needed to stick to his guns, and just go to Familia at that point to start the inning. And once he did let Harvey go back out, and he walked the first guy, you got to take him out right then and there.
Yeah.
And also, another thing is that you have to be playing no doubles defense at that point once you have a guy already on. I mean, so
there was a lot of
so I think that those are the three biggest managerial blunders in Game 5 alone.
Terry Collins in the World Series before. I think up until this point, he had done an absolutely outstanding job.
Right.
It makes this so shocking in a way. Not that the Mets lost, because the Royals completely proved, and we'll get to that in a second, that they were, without a doubt, the best team in baseball this year, and much better than the Mets in the series. And you can't. There were all those mistakes that really cost the Mets, and then I was getting to this point a little bit earlier. Daniel Murphy, he had all those great home runs in the NLDS and the NLCS. And he completely dogs it in the World Series, not only offensively but defensively as well. The error in Game 4 probably – I mean, there's a big difference between being down 3-1 and being down 2-2, so it completely demoralized the Mets.
Right, and, I mean, Daniel Murphy Bucknered that ball.
Pretty much.
I mean, it was pretty much the exact same play, except Murphy's playing second base instead of first.
Pretty much.
So I guess that's kind of karma for 1986 World Series. But I mean, the Mets completely defensively, they just shat the bed.
Pretty much.
That's probably the biggest contributor to them losing the World Series.
But honestly,
especially in Game 5, Lucas Duda, how do you make that poor of a throw?
That was so bad.
That was so bad.
That was like 50 Cent's first pitch for the Mets. Remember how bad that was? That was the actual baseball game equivalent. But I honestly don't think, no matter, it would have been interesting to see the Mets win the World Series, but I think no matter what, it wasn't going to happen because Kansas City really proved all postseason the way they came back against the Astros, and then they beat up on Toronto, and then just coming back time and time again, getting the big hit against the Mets. The Royals completely proved that they were the best team this year. I mean,
the Royals were the most fundamentally sound baseball team. They play defense. They have a scrappy offense. They just get a bunch of hits, put pressure on the opposing team's defense, and they have fantastic pitching, especially in that bullpen. And it's interesting because last year, in Game 7 of the World Series against the Giants, they held the potential tying run at third base. But this year, on a ground ball to third, Eric Hosmer went from third to home to try and score the tying run, and he forced the defense to make a play, and obviously Lucas Duda could not.
Right.
And that play alone is just the epitome of Royals baseball. That scrappy. It's not your prototypical American League offense. It's more of like a National League offense where they just scrap and manufacture runs.
You know what the Royals kind of remind me of is the team that plays on the other side of the state in Missouri. They kind of remind me of the Cardinals a little bit in the way that they always seem to find a way to get the run across. It's not always with the home run. A lot of the times it's with the stolen base and the pitching defense and how they win games. They can win games like any way possible. You saw the guy who got what would have been, if they hadn't scored 4 more runs in the inning. It's still considered the winning hit. Christian Colon, he hadn't gotten at bat all that series, and he comes up and gets the winning hit. So they had so much depth offensively and in the bullpen as well. So there's really no doubt that the Royals, they deserve this.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, they played the best baseball all year. They played the best baseball when it matters the most. And the Mets, while they were playing well up until the World Series, they did not play their best baseball, and as a result, they lost the World Series. And the team that played the best baseball won, and deservedly so, in the Kansas City Royals.
How about the parade yesterday in Kansas City?
Yeah, that was insane. Well, first off, I've never been to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Or seen what it looked like, and
awesome.
It's like the most prototypical Midwestern city.
Yeah.
It's like you have nice tall buildings and then just a bunch of grassland. And
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. If you could tell me that place was in like Iowa or something, and I'd probably believe it. But Kansas City has the population of about 400,000 people, and inexplicably the parade had 800,000 people.
I thought there was 500,000 people at the Royals parade yesterday.
I saw 800,000. We were reporting this morning at work 800,000 people at the parade.
Well, whatever the number was, it said that there's twice as many people went to the parade as there was as the population in Kansas City. As the entire population of Kansas City, there's twice as many people there, which is impressive. And I thought there was a lot of people when the Red Sox first won the World Series in 2004. I thought that was a lot of people. I think it was close to 500,000 people, but 800,000 people, that's insane.
I went to the Yankees parade, I think, a couple of years ago, and whenever they last won, that was 2009. And I think they estimated close to 1 million people then too. And I always think victory parades are just awesome.
Yeah.
No matter where they are, I just think, and I always think they're cool. Kansas City did it real big, so good for them.
Right.
Deserved World Series champions.
Yeah. So now let's transition into the NFL.
Yes.
We're at the halfway point of the NFL season, and Brian and I are going to come up with our mid-season NFL awards.
Yes.
For the Coach of the Year, I'm going to go with Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons, because at the beginning of the year, no one really thought that the Falcons would even be this good. I think a lot of people thought that the Falcons would be like what they were the past few seasons, in which that they were underperforming despite all the talent that they had. But Dan Quinn has really gotten the most out of his players this year. Devontae Freeman's been a huge asset to the Falcons. Matty Ice has been playing great at quarterback, and I think that has a lot to do with Dan Quinn, who I believe this is his first year, right, with the Falcons?
Yeah, it is. They had Mike Smith as their head coach for a couple of years.
Right.
And they just fired him, missing the playoffs last year.
Right. So I'm going with Dan.
So you're going. I'm going to keep it in the same division, but I'm going to give it to Riverboat Ron Rivera who has led the Panthers to the 7-0 mark. I think that if you had told somebody that the Panthers would be good this year, they would believe you. But if you had told somebody we're going into week 9 now and that the Panthers would be 7-0, I don't think anybody would have believed you, especially going up against the Seahawks and the Colts and a couple of other good teams. I don't think anybody would have told you that. So I'm going with Ron Rivera to win Coach of the Year now. There were a lot of people that you could potentially give this award to. Like you said, Quinn, potentially Bill Belichick, people like that who are having great seasons, whose teams are having great seasons. But I'm going to stick with Ron Rivera right now.
Yeah, and I believe this is the best start in the history of the Carolina Panthers at 7-0.
They've never been 7-0 before.
Right.
This is by far. And their win against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday night, that was their first ever overtime win at home.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I know we're kind of going into the Week 8 recap a little bit here now. But the Panthers almost choked that game away.
I know.
I mean, that was awful.
I mean, it was.
You didn't even have to go into overtime.
It's rare that you have a game like that where you have a substantial lead, blow it, then have to come back in overtime, and then win again. Like it's not, almost never happens.
Right.
But I think it goes to show that Carolina can win a game like that, or they can overcome a team coming back like that. And they can come back. Like they showed, I think, a number of things that way, and it was an interesting game. It really was. I didn't get to see any of it because I was really tired. But it was pouring rain. Did you hear about the protesters? By the way,
yeah, that's bizarre.
That drove me insane.
Those guys are assholes.
I hate when that happens. There was too much at this Panthers game that.
Yeah, so all right. What was I gonna say? Oh yes. So I also think that the Indianapolis Colts are the first team to take a lead in overtime and then lose it.
Yeah.
Since the new format, which is hilarious, I think.
I mean, that's kind of bizarre. I mean, it just adds to the dysfunction they've had as a team all season.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go to Offensive Player of the Year. And I think there's no doubt, and this is going to be the MVP also, Tom Brady, 20 touchdowns, tied for most in the league with Carson Palmer, who's having a great season.
Yeah. And
1 interception, but really Tom Brady should have no interceptions because that interception was not his fault. It went off of the hands of Julian Edelman and was intercepted by the Colts player and brought back for a touchdown. So that was not Tom Brady's fault. So he should have 20 touchdowns and no interceptions, but he's on pace for 5,500 passing yards. It's a no doubter that he's the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year at this point in the season.
It's not a no doubter in my opinion, but I do think that he is in both cases for that award, and I think he's probably going to win it at this point. But a lot of people are having great seasons. Brady's having probably the best, but you got guys like Dalton who are having great seasons as well. So.
And Devontae Freeman, too.
And Devontae Freeman. And there's plenty of people, but, yeah, I think Tom Brady's probably the guy right now at MVP and Offensive Player of the Year.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to go with Josh Norman. I think you have the same pick.
Great pick.
And it's not just Richard Sherman, who's actually been having a little bit of an underwhelming season so far based off of expectations. But Josh Norman has really – I feel like this is his breakout season in which he's really taking that next step into the conversation of elite cornerbacks in the league. He has 4 interceptions this season, and he's part of the reason why this Carolina Panthers defense is so good as well.
He's been pretty much, him and Kuechly have been the anchors of what has been a really outstanding Panthers defense. Like you said, we have the same pick. I think Norman's been absolutely great. And it's really kind of unexpected because he did not have a very good preseason. I remember I was talking with some coworkers during the preseason, and we were talking about how he was looking, and he did not look good at all in the preseason. And he's come out and absolutely dominated the regular season, had some absolutely incredible interceptions, and he's turning into that guy. He even said, I think this is funny, he even said that he misses being thrown at. So he's kind of entered that Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman level where they're just kind of like afraid to throw in your direction. And I think that's pretty cool. And, you know, it's coming out of Coastal Carolina, so Big South, soon to be former South, but still Big South. And so represent Josh Norman.
Offensive Rookie of the Year now. I'm going to have to go with Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
He's coming off of an ACL injury that he suffered last year at Georgia. And he's having a great season already. And is part of the reason why the St. Louis Rams are making some noise out in the NFC West.
Yeah, definitely Gurley is my pick as well. He's on my fantasy team, and every week he's pretty much guaranteed for at least 15 points, which is just crazy. He's just dominating right now. Doesn't look. They're even comparing him to Adrian Peterson. That's how good he is. And I've heard like Dickerson comparison as well, which is pretty cool. So Gurley's awesome. He's fun to watch. I hope he's good for a long time, and hopefully he will be.
Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Ronald Darby of the Buffalo Bills, who's having a pretty decent season out there in Buffalo. He's so that's
I didn't really know like who's having a good year or not.
Yeah, to be honest, I just kind of took Bleacher Report's mid-season awards.
I went with Leonard Williams, but I'm looking at his stats now, and like they're kind of so I don't even really know. Whatever.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of standout defensive rookies right now, I guess.
All right. Now, Rookie of the Year, in general, I just have Todd Gurley.
Yeah, same. But I don't think there is a Rookie of the Year in general, is there? I think it's just offensive and defensive.
Maybe. Comeback Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Eric Berry, the Kansas City Chiefs. I originally had Doug Martin, but I remember that Berry was diagnosed with cancer last year and is already back with the Kansas City Chiefs. Right. So I got to go with the cancer survivor here.
That's a good pick. There's a lot of people. I almost feel bad not picking Eric Berry now, but I have to go with Carson Palmer coming back from the injury last year. You saw how bad the Cardinals were without Palmer, and now that he's back, they're looking like a playoff team. So I'm going to go with Carson Palmer.
All right, Breakout Player of the Year as Gary Barnidge from the Cleveland Browns. He's having a terrific season out in the land.
Yeah, the Believeland.
Yes. And too bad he doesn't have a better quarterback to throw him the ball, or else he could be up with as one of the best tight ends in football.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really solid pick. I hope it's Blaine Gabbert at the end of the season. How funny would that be?
So, Brian, you know how a couple of weeks ago you sent me a text saying that Madden had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the AFC South with a 6-10 record.
Yeah.
I think that could actually legitimately happen.
That'd be great. I think that'd be awesome. And then they'd get to host a playoff game, too. But Gabbert's he's going to be the Niners quarterback now.
Right. But Blake Bortles.
Yeah, that's right.
Is the Jaguars quarterback.
And he's doing pretty well.
Right. I mean, he's done really well, actually.
Yeah.
Out in Jacksonville.
Good for them. I kind of want to see a 6-10 division winner.
That would be funny.
This is the year for it to happen. And
especially with how bad the AFC South is. And by the way, I think the Colts could legitimately come out of this brutal 4-game stretch that started last week at 3-7. Because they lost
to the
Panthers. They have the Denver Broncos this week.
They're done.
Let me check who else they have on their schedule.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, I didn't even realize they were playing Denver this week.
And I think they have the Packers this week. Or not this week, but coming up too.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. All right, you ready to get into this week?
Well, then I have I kind of just I have 2 more awards.
Okay, go on.
They're not necessarily official NFL awards, but for most improved player, I have Andy Dalton.
Represent.
What?
Represent Gingers.
Yeah. And then for most disappointing player, I have Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, I mean, there's not been a single player that has been more disappointing than Andrew Luck has been this season. But with the report that he actually has 2 broken ribs, that actually explains a lot.
I would say so, too. Andrew Luck probably, I mean, if the Colts do, in fact, if Andrew Luck is still in a lot of pain, what's even the point in playing, to be honest?
Right.
I mean, yeah, that division just is terrible, though. So really, anybody's in it. So yeah.
Right. Okay, so after the Broncos, the Colts played the Falcons.
Ugh, that's brutal.
Yeah. So
Atlanta's kind of struggling right now, but even then, that's still a very difficult. That's
and it's
tough.
in Atlanta too.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for the Colts. That's a tough series of games for them. They really had to beat the Saints a couple of weeks ago.
Right. And now they're in trouble.
Yep.
All right. So let's start with this week. I'll give Sean's picks too.
All right, sounds good.
We start in the state of Ohio. The Cincinnati Bengals host the Cleveland Browns.
Ohio.
I have the Bengals winning this one, although the Browns, for whatever reason, have always played tough against the Bengals, but I have the Bengals winning this one.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to get to 8-0. The game's in Cincy. The Browns, I remember actually winning a game in Cincinnati last year, if I remember correctly. And I think that was when Brian Hoyer was their quarterback.
Yes.
So they are pretty good against the Bengals, but this Bengals team appears to be different from other past Bengals teams. And Johnny Football starting, which is always a little interesting.
Adventure.
It's something. I don't know how to describe it. It's something. But I'm going to go with the Bengals.
All right. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins at the New England Patriots. Sean has the Redskins, of course, because he's picking the Redskins every week, no matter who the opponent. But the Patriots favored by 14.5. I have the Patriots winning this 44-13.
And that's your score because you played it in Madden, I assume?
I did play it in Madden, but I won 44-20 in Madden.
Oh, okay. So you're discounting them a few points.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going with the Patriots in this one. I don't have anything. I'm staying out of that. I don't care how many beers either one of you chugs. Just stick with it.
Next one is the Packers at the Carolina Panthers.
Woo!
I'm going with the Packers. Sean has the Packers also. I think the Packers are going to bounce back after a tough week in Denver. I have to say, though, as a Patriots fan, after that game last week between the Packers and Broncos, that makes it a little bit that gives me a little bit more pause. It makes me a little nervous, I guess.
I mean, the Broncos are pretty good, but
right.
We'll get them in a minute. I'm going with Carolina in this one because the game is in Charlotte. I want to see the Panthers get to 8-0, and I think I don't know if they're necessarily better than the Packers, but I think that they're going to be ready for this game. They're going to know how much it means to the Panthers and the fact that they can really take complete control of the NFC if they win this game. So I'm going to go with the Panthers. I'm going to be honest, it's probably the first time this season with the Panthers that people around here are kind of doubting that they're going to win. But I want to see them get the upset. I think everybody does. I'm going out to watch the game with some people, so I'm really excited about that. I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, I just think the Packers are going to bounce back.
It would be. I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest.
Yeah. Next game is Titans at the Saints. I have the Saints winning their fourth game in a row. What?
Yeah, it's a dud. This game's a dud. I'm going with the Saints.
Next game is Dolphins at the Bills. The Bills against the AFC East minus the Patriots at home are very good. I think the Patriots are the only team in the last 5 years or so that have been able to beat the Bills at home in Buffalo as an AFC East opponent. So I have the Bills over the Dolphins this week.
I'm going with the Dolphins this week to get the win over the Bills. Miami's looked really good under their new head coach, Dan Campbell, so I think they're going to keep it up. As long as E.J. Manuel starting at quarterback, I can't trust the Bills.
I think Tyrod Taylor's going to be back this week.
Well, either way, I think I'm still going to pick the Dolphins in this one just because they're playing better with their new head coach.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to consider who their 2 wins were against, though. It was against the Titans. I know. And I forget who else. And then last week they just got completely demoralized by the Patriots. So
can we go 5 seconds without talking about the Patriots? And I mean, I think the Dolphins are good. I think that when they put it together, they're all right. And I think they're going to get the win.
All right. Next game, St. Louis Rams at Minnesota Vikings. This one is a very interesting game. I think it could go either way, but I think the Vikings, because they're at home, are going to get the win.
The Vikings are looking more and more like a playoff team every week. I'm going with them 6-2. This is gonna be a fun running back matchup though. Gurley and Adrian Peterson. That's 2 of the best right there.
And then we have the Jaguars at the Jets. The Jets right now don't have a quarterback, and both Ryan Fitzpatrick
starting.
Is he starting?
Yeah, they announced today that he will be starting.
Okay. Then I'm gonna change my pick back to the Jets.
Yeah. Either way, I would still pick the Jets over the Jaguars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, The Jaguars have actually looked better this season.
I don't even know.
Their only 2 wins have come against both the Dolphins and the Bills.
Right.
And so I think the Jaguars are actually they've been playing well. Blake Bortles has played really well at quarterback. But if Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting, then I think the Jets are going to win.
Yeah. I mean, they said he's going to play no matter what. So, I mean, I don't even know who the Jets' third string quarterback is.
Bryce Petty, I think.
Okay, well, that would be interesting.
He's a rookie.
That would be interesting, but either way, I mean, I didn't even know Geno Smith was. Well, he got punched in the jaw. So, I mean, I was surprised to even see him in the game last week. But I'm going with Fitzpatrick starting this one and to win it.
All right. Also, Sean picked the Bills also in the Dolphins-Bills game.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we have the Raiders on the road in Pittsburgh facing the Steelers. This is a big game for both teams,
Right.
especially the Steelers, who want to try and maybe keep pace with the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North.
Well, I think they might be trying to keep pace with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, that too. Especially that's even more important.
Yeah.
And at home,
where they are.
At home, I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going with Pittsburgh in this one too. Although I do like what Oakland is doing right now. It's awesome to see the Raiders actually be back in the playoffs and completely relevant.
Next up, the first 4:05 game, we have the Giants at the Buccaneers. I have the Giants winning this one.
Yeah, not much to say about this one. It's kind of a dud game because the Bucs really aren't that good. I'm going with the Giants.
And then the next 4:05 game, we have the Falcons at the 49ers. I'm going with the Falcons.
This is Blaine Gabbert's return game, but which I'm pretty excited about.
Wait, what do you mean return game?
Blaine Gabbert's starting for the 49ers this week.
Oh, okay.
Colin Kaepernick got benched.
Well, yeah, I know that, but like I didn't understand where you're going with that return game.
Like it's his return. He's returning to starting.
Okay.
But yeah. I'm going with the Falcons in this one either way. They're just a better team than the 49ers, even though it's in Santa Clara. I'm going with the Falcons.
Next game, Peyton Manning returns to Indianapolis. I have the Broncos winning this one. The Colts are just terrible.
Yeah, the Colts look worse and worse every week, look more and more dysfunctional. Really, it's not looking good in Indianapolis. They fired their offensive coordinator already, and it looks like more and more Chuck Pagano's a lame duck head coach. So I'm going with Denver. Denver looked solid beating the Packers last week too.
And then on Sunday Night Football, we have the Eagles at the Cowboys. As long as Tony Romo is out, I'm going to pick against the Cowboys, so I have the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, Philly is better than the Cowboys right now, as long as Tony Romo is out. Des Bryant, who we'll get to in a minute, is back and looks like he's going to be a big part of the Cowboys' offense the rest of the season. But unless Tony Romo's there really isn't a lot of hope. I think they've lost 5 games in a row now, if I'm not mistaken, since Romo went down. And I think after this season, Cowboys fans will finally learn to appreciate Tony Romo, which infuriates you because so many teams would kill to have Tony Romo, and Cowboy fans are just spoiled punks. But I'm going with Philly in this one.
All right, and on Monday Night Football, we have the Bears at the San Diego Chargers. I have the Chargers winning this one because I think the Chargers are better than what their record indicates.
They definitely are, although Keenan Allen's now going to be out for the season.
Right.
He has a lacerated kidney or something like that.
I think it's a lacerated spleen. It's spleen or kidney. Either one.
Not good. Either way. And either way, I'm going with the Chargers in this one. Like you said, better than their record indicates. This is kind of – I bet ESPN was not thinking that this is what those teams' record would be when they got this game on Monday Night Football. So ratings are going to be low.
Well, I think the Bears weren't that surprising. I think the Chargers were, though.
Right. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't think they expected them to be 2-5 and 2-6. So I'm going with the Chargers simply because it's in San Diego and they are a better team than their record indicates.
All right. Now, Dez Bryant is back with the Dallas Cowboys. He's returned from his broken foot, but he's also been making or roughing some feathers with PETA because he has a pet monkey. Now, have you seen the picture of Dez's pet monkey?
It's like a little cute, adorable thing, isn't it?
It's adorable. I love Dez's pet monkey, and if Dez wants a pet monkey, you should have a pet monkey.
I mean, PETA sometimes drives me completely insane. And I just went to Google, by the way, and I typed in Dez, and the first thing that comes up is Dez Bryant monkey, which I just think is funny. I don't know. I'm looking at TMZ right now, and TMZ sometimes, they can be a little out there. But this says that illegal possession of monkey is what Dez Bryant has. I don't. PETA is just ridiculous sometimes. They just go completely over the top with, sometimes they're completely. I mean, I mean, nobody should ever harm any animal or any human being, but the protests that PETA does sometimes are just over the top ridiculous.
Right, and like as long as Dez isn't abusing the monkey, then it should be fine. He should be able to have his monkey. I mean, it's not like he's Michael Vick and running a dogfighting ring.
Right. I mean, if he was chopping off the monkey's head, that would be one thing.
Yeah.
He's just like any other pet owner.
Right.
He's posting pictures with his monkey and everything. There's nothing illegal about it. I remember last week when I made my rant about the Clippers, you said, I don't understand why you think this is a big deal. Well, I don't understand how anybody could think Dez Bryant owning a monkey is a big deal, to be honest.
Right. I mean, ridiculous. When I first heard that Dez Bryant owned a monkey, I thought that was awesome.
Right. And I don't think Dez Bryant's awesome at all. So this is like a rare, I mean, the picture is just adorable. It kind of reminds me.
Yes.
It reminds me of people just like holding their babies almost. He's just like cuddling it.
Right.
It's the most precious thing ever, and I mean, for the Cowboys this year, who have had Tony Romo go down, Dez Bryant goes down first, then Tony Romo, and then you have Greg Hardy come back and just completely stir up crazy amounts of controversy.
And then you cut Joseph Randle.
And then you cut Joseph Randle, who's probably going to face some sort of punishment from the NFL if he ever does, in fact, play again.
Wait, what happened with Joseph Randle? Again, I forget.
I believe he had a DUI or something like that. Let me look it up. And then you have Greg Hardy causing all this controversy and just the creepy obsession with Greg Hardy. It would be interesting. It would have been nice if this would have just been a non-issue. But of course, with the Cowboys being "quote unquote" America's team,
they're not America's team anymore.
everything makes a big deal. Everybody makes a big deal about everything. Joseph Randle violated the NFL's personal conduct policy after an arrest in Wichita. So, yeah.
All right. And did you see Jerry Jones's comments in regards to Des Bryant's monkey?
Oh, God. What did he say now?
It's just like he just goes on this whole tangent on how his daddy used to own like 50 different kinds of wild animals. He had a wild animal farm. And I would get to, it was like a safari. It was just weird.
Jerry Jones is just ridiculous sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
Jerry Jones drives me insane. He's one of the people I just can't stand. But the Cowboys are just a circus right now. The Cowboys are usually a circus, so this shouldn't surprise anyone. But it's just ridiculous that this is even a story.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything for the walk-off?
I did. Do you have something, or you can go first? Because I need to remember what mine was. I had something really good.
I honestly don't have anything right now, so.
I had something really good, but I honestly can't remember what it is. So we can just skip it.
All right. Well, that does it for another edition of the Sports Pulse. Thanks for listening, and taking you out is Royal by Lorde in honor of the Kansas City Royals winning the World Series. Royal, of course, was written after or for the Royals and after George Brett. So,
but she didn't even know that. You know what's funny about that is she didn't know who George Brett was because she's from New Zealand.
Right.
So she just thought it was. She just saw like the jersey on a picture of George Brett.
Right.
And write the song, which I think is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just awesome.
Right. So have a good weekend, everyone, and fire Goodell.
Message we can all get behind.